The sky hung heavy over the small town of Elmridge, where the trees seemed to whisper ancient secrets to the wind. On that September morning, the local school, Ashgrove Middle School, slowly came to life with the clinking of bicycles, hurried footsteps, and youthful voices eager for the weekend. But for Sofia Bennett, the day began with a different weight. Seated in the back seat of the car, she watched her younger brother, 13-year-old Leo Bennett, step out wearing his old gray hoodie and headphones pressed against his ears. He didn't say a word. That wasn't unusual. Leo had grown increasingly withdrawn in the past few months since their father's sudden death. But on that day, there was something even more distant in his gaze. Something Sofia couldn't ignore. "Is he okay?" asked her mother, Mara, eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. Sofia hesitated before answering. "He's just quiet." Again, Mara nodded slowly, but her expression was tense. Since Leo entered adolescence, strange changes had accumulated. Long silences, sleepless nights, and that letter he had written, hidden in a notebook, which Sofia had found accidentally 3 weeks before. She didn't tell anyone. The school seemed indifferent to Leo's condition. Teachers considered him bright, though hard to connect with. Peers either ignored him or mocked his introspective nature. The only one who still tried to talk to him was Noah Whitaker, a kind boy from the next class, but even he seemed to be giving up. That morning, when the bell rang, Leo didn't go inside the school. No one noticed until third period. By noon, when authorities arrived, the town still didn't know it was about to plunge into a spiral of grief, anger, and buried secrets. Because Leo Bennett's body had been found on the train tracks, and the initial, albeit premature, conclusions pointed to something terrible, suicide. But the story wouldn't end there. In fact, it was only beginning. Behind the curtains of pain, someone knew there was more to Leo's death. Someone knew the truth. Leo Bennett's funeral took place 5 days after his death, on a gray morning in Elmridge. The sky, like the glances around, seemed suspended between sorrow and disbelief. The family remained silent, surrounded by an empty circle where friends and neighbors should have been. But no one showed up. No cousins. No uncles. None of the grandmothers. Not even Mara's closest friends or the deceased husband's acquaintances. Everyone had scheduling conflicts. Some were on vacation. Others said they couldn't handle it. Sofia, just 16, was the only one who wept while standing beside her brother's coffin, holding a wilted flower in her mother's trembling hand. The isolation was almost as cruel as the loss. "Why did no one come?" Sofia asked later at home, her black dress clinging to her legs. Mara sighed, not looking in her daughter's eyes. People handle grief in different ways. But this wasn't just grief. It was abandonment. Outside, rain began to fall gently. As Mara locked the front door and withdrew to her room in silence, Sofia returned to the living room and stared at Leo's backpack by the stairs. No one had touched it since that day. With a lump in her throat, she approached. Inside the backpack, among scribbled notebooks and science books, was something out of place. A small navy blue flash drive. No label, no name. With trembling fingers, she took it and rushed to her room. She plugged it into her laptop and waited. The folder contained only one video, dated 3 days before Leo's death. It was a short file, just 2.5 minutes long. But its content froze Sofia like ice. Leo's video. "If you're watching this, I'm not here anymore." But it wasn't like they said. "You need to pay attention to what happened at school. What they did to me. What SHE did to me." His face was partially in shadow and voice barely a whisper. "If they say it was my fault, they're lying." The video ended with a piercing silence. Sofia couldn't breathe. There was pain in his words, yes, but also fear. And mention of a SHE, a mysterious figure at the center of everything. It was the beginning of a puzzle. And Sofia now knew she couldn't trust anyone. The next chapter will find Sofia discreetly investigating who SHE could be, retracing Leo's last days at school and beginning to understand what really happened behind the scenes of the supposed tragedy. Sofia barely slept that night. Leo's video wouldn't leave her mind. His words echoed as if he were still asking for help, even after he was gone. The next day, before heading to school, she copied the video to her phone and deleted the original from the laptop. She hid the flash drive inside an old sock at the bottom of her drawer. She had a feeling no one could know she had it. Not yet. At school, the hallways seemed quieter than usual. Or maybe she was just listening too closely. During recess, she sat alone under the stairs where she used to have snacks with Leo the year before. She pulled out her phone and watched the video again, pausing at every phrase, looking for clues, faces in the background, sounds, anything, until she heard a faint tap in the video, a sharp click, just after Leo said, "What SHE did to me." She replayed that part several times until she realized it wasn't random noise. It was the sound of a high heel on the school floor. It reminded her of a specific scene. 2 weeks before Leo's death, he had come home pale, eyes wide. When she asked what happened, he only said, "He saw me messing with her locker, but I swear I was just trying to return something I found in the courtyard." At the time, Sofia didn't give much thought. Helena Marlowe was the school counselor, elegant, well-educated, respected by all. But there was something about her that made students uneasy, the way she stared without blinking, the way she smiled without showing her teeth. Now it felt relevant. Sofia went to the school library and pulled up Helena Marlowe's digital records. Helena had an impressive background, years of experience at prestigious schools, awards for educational excellence, and no complaints on record. Everything spotless. Too spotless, Sofia thought. For the first time, Zara realized Leo hadn't just been bullied. He had gotten entangled in something far bigger. And Helena, whom he referred to only as SHE, seemed to be the central thread of that dark tapestry. At the end of the day, before leaving school, Sofia saw Helena cross the hallway. Firm steps, high heels, impeccable face, and a faint whisper slipped from the counselor's thin lips as she passed Sofia. "You're too curious. It can be dangerous." Sofia froze. The woman didn't stop walking. And in that moment, Sofia understood. Helena knew she was investigating. That night, the air at home felt heavier, as though the walls and furniture also sensed what she was about to uncover. After dinner, she entered Leo's room. It had gone untouched for weeks. Her mother had locked the door, as if wanting to freeze time. Sofia had memorized where her brother hid things. She rummaged under the bed, inside the comic book box, and then she felt something solid at the bottom of a hidden compartment, a red covered notebook with frayed elastic and the smell of old paper. The name on the first page was simple and direct, Leonardo A. No date, no title. She sat on the floor, took a deep breath, and began to read. The first pages seemed ordinary, class notes, task lists, a few scribbled phrases. But as she turned pages, the entries grew more personal. The words trembled, as if Leo's hand was already afraid. Then she read what chilled her. April 17th. I found another note under my desk. You saw too much. Stay silent. It wasn't just Daniel who pushed me down the stairs that day. I saw Helena leaving his classroom before it happened, and he seemed hypnotized, as if unaware of what he was doing. Further on, April 21st, I was sent to the reflection room. Helena stared at me for 7 minutes without saying a word. 7 minutes. I timed it. Then she said if I spoke about the meetings, no one would believe me, that my family would pay for my loose tongue. And then, April 24th, the secret meeting happened today. I saw 4 students enter the basement room. Helena was waiting with a black box in her hands. She called it the ceremony of loyalty. They emerged changed. Miguel was crying. Julia was trembling. Something was very wrong, but I don't have proof yet. Sofia closed the notebook with sweaty hands. The basement room. No one had used that school area since an unfinished renovation years ago, and the so-called ceremony of loyalty sounded like something out of a conspiracy novel. On the notebook's back cover, taped to it, was a note not written by Leo. The handwriting was thin in black ink. If you're reading this, then you already know too much. The next person to disappear might be you. Sofia swallowed hard. The note was recent, the ink still fresh. Someone had been in the room after Leo died, and now she knew. She couldn't trust anyone inside that school. The next morning, Sofia arrived early at Volker School, earlier than any other student. The janitor, Mr. Gunther, gave a suspicious nod, seeing her hurry through the corridors. She smiled, masking her tension, and headed toward the oldest section of the school, where the forbidden basement lay. The east wing was practically forgotten. The floor creaked under her steps, and the windows were dusty. At the end hung a heavy, rusted iron door marked by a faded sign in red letters. No entry. Risk of collapse. But Sofia knew that sign was just a facade. She pressed her ear to the door. Silence. She turned the rusty doorknob. It was locked. She remembered something Leo had written in the notebook. The key is hidden not in what is locked, but in what is forgotten. She looked around and spotted an old rusty mailbox, long fallen in the corner. Inside it, among moldy letters and torn pamphlets, she found a keychain with one small key stamped with the initials BP. Holding her breath, she inserted the key into the lock. Click! The door swung open slowly, revealing a concrete staircase descending into darkness. A smell of mold and rust filled her nostrils. She turned on her phone's flashlight and descended step by step. The walls were covered in childlike chalk graffiti. Some read, "They see everything. Silence is protection. Truth doesn't come out alive." At the bottom, the basement was spacious, but the center was cordoned off with black curtains hanging from the ceiling. Approaching closer, Sofia saw worn candles arranged on the floor in a circle. Next to them lay a black box similar to the one Leo had described in his notes. Empty, but stained with dried red residue. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed in the room. A beep, then another. Sofia's phone momentarily displayed signal lost. The flashlight flickered off. In the darkness, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here, Sofia." She turned, but no one was there. She bolted toward the stairs, but on the second step, the floor gave way beneath her. Crack! She fell into a lower chamber. Her ankle twisted as she landed, pain shooting through her leg. But the worst came when she realized she wasn't alone. In the corner, eyes wide, a gray-haired woman watched her. She wore an old blue coat and held a weak flashlight. The woman stepped forward. "I was a teacher here before Helena, and I know exactly what she did to your brother." Sofia stared at the woman. Her gray hair tied in a messy bun, her skin lined with time revealing years of fatigue or fear. But her eyes burned with clarity and vigilance. "Who are you?" Sofia whispered, still sitting on the cold floor, cradling her swollen ankle. The woman approached and extended her hand. "My name is Martha Kleber. I taught behavioral psychology here for over 20 years. They fired me for emotional instability. That's what the principal said. But the truth is that I knew too much." Sofia accepted Martha's help and painfully got to her feet. Martha shone her flashlight on the chamber walls. There were more inscriptions, repeated symbols, words in Latin, and old photo cutouts pasted to cracked columns. "You mentioned my brother, Leo. What do you know?" Sofia asked. Martha hesitated. Then she took an envelope from her coat pocket. "This was left by him. I hid it. If they knew I had it, I wouldn't be alive." Sofia shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note in Leo's script. "If something happens to me, don't trust Helena, nor any of the chosen. They belong to the Society of Silent Voices. They meet in the basement. Listen, but don't speak. Watch, but don't act, unless someone discovers too much." Sofia looked up. "What is this society?" she asked. Martha drew a deep breath, as though each word cost her years of life. "A cult disguised as a secret academic club. It started decades ago with a group of principals and teachers who wanted to control promising students. They selected the brightest and subjected them to manipulative psychological experiments in obedience, all in the name of mind improvement." Sofia froze. Leo was one of them. Yes, but he didn't want to participate. He tried to expose what was happening, and when one attempts to leave, they disappear. Officially, they are transferred or withdrawn. But some, they're never seen again. Martha pointed at a wall covered in old photos of former students. One had Leo's photo circled in red. "What did they do to my brother?" Martha gripped Sophia's arm, her eyes pleading. If you want answers, you can't act alone anymore. I know others who suspect the same, but you must be cautious. They have eyes everywhere, even among the students. Sofia felt the weight of those words. She finally understood that Leo's death wasn't an accident, and that she was only at the start of a much larger network. Suddenly, they heard footsteps from upstairs. The basement door slammed open. Someone was entering. Martha clicked off her flashlight. Stay silent. Don't breathe. They already know you're searching. The corridor stretched longer that night. Each footstep reverberated like a drum in Sofia's anxious mind. After escaping with Martha through a back door, Sofia returned quietly to the girls' dormitory, careful not to draw attention. But her mind raced. The Society of Silent Voices, the Chosen, the ceremonies, the note from Leo. And now, the question, whom could she trust? When she opened the dorm room door, she found Laura, her roommate and best friend since her first day at Van Holt Academy. Laura was sitting on her bed, reading a biology book, but lifted her eyes immediately. Sofia, where are you? The principal came by twice. Said you disappeared from the study wing. I thought something happened. Sofia hesitated, the question burning in her throat. Are you part of the Chosen? Instead, she simply shook her head and forced a weak smile. Just needed air. Took a walk in the back garden. At night. Laura frowned. You know that's not allowed. I know, but my head was about to explode. Laura approached, gentle as always. She touched Sofia's shoulder. You've been acting strange since last week, since you began investigating that locked library. You're scaring me, Sofia. Sofia hesitated, wary, but didn't want to show it. It's fine. Really. That night, Sofia pretended to sleep. Around 2 a.m., she heard Laura rise, put on her shoes, and leave quietly without turning on the light. Sofia waited a few seconds, then followed her tiptoeing. She trailed her through the silent corridors of the North Wing until the abandoned auditorium, supposedly under renovation, for over 6 months according to school records. Outside, Laura knocked 3 times, then twice more. The door opened from inside. Sofia edged closer, hiding behind a pillar. What she saw froze her blood. Inside the auditorium were at least 10 students, all wearing dark cloaks, gathered around a circle drawn with candles and symbols on the floor. And there, in the center, was a familiar figure, Director Helena, raising her arm while Laura knelt before her. Sister Laura, Helena said in a deep voice, you will be tested this week. Don't let friendships divert you from the cause. You belong to the cause, not to friendship. Understand, Laura replied. Sofia doesn't know I'm observing, but she's too close to the truth. Sofia could barely stifle a sob. Her hands trembled. Her best friend was a spy. From the start, she retreated silently, tearful and angry. But now she was certain of one thing. The war had begun. The next day dawned gray. A dense mist covered the Van Holt Academy campus, as though even the sky felt the burden Sofia carried. She dragged herself to the cafeteria, but the food tasted like paper. Every corner, every face, every whisper seemed to conspire against her. Laura sat with the rest of the study group, laughing as if nothing had happened the night before. Lies. Everything about her is a lie. But Sofia knew she couldn't act impulsively. She needed to understand what Laura knew, how deep her involvement went, and, above all, how Director Helena was connected to it all. During modern philosophy history class, Sofia passed a note to Laura as in old times. I need to talk to you. Just us. Tonight, in the greenhouse, after dinner. Laura nodded slightly, but her eyes took too long to look away. She knew she'd been discovered. That night, the greenhouse was empty except for dense ferns and the soft drip of irrigation tubes. Sofia sat on the stone bench among the tall planters. Laura arrived silently, hands in her school jacket pocket. You followed me, didn't you? Laura said without beating around the bush. And you lied to me for months. Sofia's voice was low but heavy with hurt. Sofia, what is the Society of Silent Voices? Interrupted Sofia. Why are you with them? What is this selection of the Chosen? Laura sighed and leaned against the bench. You don't understand. I joined to protect you. When they saw you were a natural candidate, they used me. They said if I stayed close, I might steer your choices, keep you from escaping their control. So that's it. You were my friend because you had to be. Laura hesitated. No, the friendship was real. It still is. But now you're in danger. They know you know too much, and they will test you, like they tested others, like they tested Leo. Leo is dead, Laura. No, she fell silent, biting her lip. He isn't dead. He was taken. Sofia jumped up. Taken? What do you mean taken? Before Laura could answer, a snap sounded from the back of the greenhouse. A boy emerged from the shadows, expression serious, wearing the green uniform of the academy, but with a field technician badge. It was Adrian, a fourth-year student who rarely spoke to anyone. You two are marked, he said matter of fact. And if you want to survive, you'll have to hear me out. Laura turned toward him in panic. What are you doing here? Trying to stop the next funeral from bearing your names. Sofia turned to him suspiciously. Who are you, really? Adrian pulled something from his pocket, an old leather-covered notebook. Sofia recognized it at once. That is Leo's journal. She could barely speak. Adrian nodded. He wrote everything. In the shadows of the greenhouse, Sofia opened the diary Adrian handed her with trembling hands. Its worn cover hid yellowed pages written hastily but firmly. The first lines revealed a truth Sofia never expected. If you're reading this, it means something went wrong. Vanishing Academy is not what it seems. Behind the classes and parties, there's a secret order that controls not only the students, but the town as a whole. They choose who will be the future. I was one of them, but I can't accept that destiny. Laura peeked over Sofia's shoulder, her face pale. He discovered the truth and tried to fight it. That's why he disappeared. Page after page revealed clandestine meetings, codes, and names. Among them, Helena's, the director, and other teachers Sofia had never suspected. They manipulate grades, friendships, even students' families, Adrian continued. To maintain control, they create cruel tests. Many who fail disappear. Sofia felt her heart race. So, that's what happened to my brother, she asked, voice choked. Adrian nodded. Yes, he was one of the failures. Suddenly, a noise from outside the greenhouse made them all turn. Shadows lengthened. Hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. We have to act fast, Adrian said, stowing the diary. They already know we're here. Sofia, Laura, and Adrian realized they were in a race against time. The fate of the academy and their own lives depended on their next move. Night had fallen over the sky as the three prepared to leave the greenhouse. The humid, plant-filled air was there, but to them, nothing mattered more than escaping alive, with the evidence they'd uncovered. Sofia watched the corridor ahead, lit only by dim lights. We have to be fast and silent, she whispered, her voice thick with tension. Adrian adjusted his pack, loaded with documents that would prove the conspiracy inside the academy, and replied, If they catch us, we're finished. Without proof, we won't have a chance. Laura, though frightened, stared resolutely at her friends. I trust you. Let's get out and finish this once and for all. Their steps were cautious, each move measured so as not to draw the attention of the guards patrolling the school's halls. They passed through a creaking door that sent Sofia's heart racing. Stay calm, Adrian said, gripping Sofia's hand. It'll be okay. When they finally reached the side exit, cold night air greeted them. Relief felt surreal. Outside, the town slept, unaware of what happened inside the school walls. But the feeling of safety was fragile. We need to find Marcus, Sofia said urgently. He knows where to hide the evidence. Only he can help us bring this to the world. Adrian agreed. If this conspiracy becomes known, it could shake everything we know. We must be prepared. As they walked toward the meeting point, they passed deserted streets lit only by yellow streetlights. Their own footsteps echoed. At any moment, they expected to be discovered. Do you think someone's following us? Laura asked in a low voice. It's possible, Sofia replied. They know we have something they shouldn't. But before they could react, a shadow appeared behind a wall. A tall man with a covered face blocked their path. Stop right there. Hand over everything and no one gets hurt, he said in a firm, threatening voice. Adrian stepped in front of Sofia and Laura. "Never. You won't stop us." A confrontation seemed inevitable. Sofia's heart pounded, but adrenaline gave her clarity. Nearby sat a small bench. She grabbed a stone and threw it at the man's head. He staggered, and the trio seized the opportunity to flee. Their footsteps thundered through the street, chased by the man's furious voice. "Quick, into the alley!" cried Laura. They dove into a narrow alley that seemed like a dead end, but a metal staircase led up to a low rooftop. Without hesitation, they climbed up, and from above, Sofia looked back. The man had stopped at the corner, looking up, unable to follow. "We made it," she said, breathless. But this isn't over. They continued their escape through the silent town, aware that that night marked the beginning of a much larger battle. From that point, Lucas and his family's life changed irreversibly. After the conflict with Sofia's family, tensions only rose. Lucas felt the weight of decisions he had to make, protecting his mother Helena and sister Clara while wrestling with the resentment in his heart. He knew he couldn't turn back, but the fear of losing everything made his days harder. Meanwhile, Helena tried to keep the family united, but her health suffered under the constant pressure. Clara, in turn, grappled with silent sorrow, realizing her family's safety hung by a thread. On a rainy night, Lucas received an anonymous message promising to reveal truth behind a rival family's actions. Determined to understand what he faced, he followed clues that led him to a friend of his father's, now missing. The revelations were shocking. The conflict wasn't just between families, but involved shady business, secrets buried in the past, and betrayals. Lucas understood he needed to act carefully not to destroy what remained of his family. Desperate for help, Lucas found an unexpected ally in Marcello, an investigative journalist. Marcello knew the story could expose a larger corruption network. Together, they began gathering evidence, with Marcello using his influence to open doors and Lucas risking his safety to collect information. Their partnership gave Lucas hope and courage to continue. As the external struggle progressed, internal tensions rose. Helena, weakened, began to question Lucas's choices. The mother-son relationship, once strong, turned delicate, tested by distrust. Clara, seeking to understand the adults, realized the real enemy might be within the family. An old secret guarded by her grandmother began to surface, threatening to shake the family's foundation. The feud between the families reached a critical point. Lucas knew there was no room for half-truths. He confronted the patriarch of the rival family, Augusto, at a scheduled meeting. Tension was palpable. Words were spoken, truths exposed, promises made. What seemed like a direct confrontation became fertile ground for unexpected alliances and twists. Afterwards, an unexpected betrayal rocked Lucas's family. Someone they trusted blindly turned traitor, handing over information that could destroy everything they had built. That revelation forced Helena into a difficult decision. She would protect her family at all costs, even if it meant radical actions. The family found itself at a crossroads where trust and loyalty were thoroughly tested. Despite the losses and betrayals, Lucas decided he couldn't let fear rule his life. Supported by Marcello and Clara's steadfast love, he began planning a different future, one of renewal for his family. New strategies formed, alliances rebuilt, and a light of hope appeared on the horizon. The fight was far from over, but Lucas was now more ready than ever to face the challenges. As this phase of the story draws to a close, Lucas reflects on everything they've endured and the legacy he wants for his family. He realizes true value lies in unity, in the courage to face hardship together, and in the pursuit of justice. Amid adversity, the family found strength in love and determination, proving that, even in darkest times, hope can bloom. Lucas and his family were about to reveal everything they discovered. The pressure was immense. It wasn't just about protecting their own interests anymore, but exposing a corruption network affecting many lives. Marcello prepared the exposé that would shake the town's foundations, while Lucas organized an event to present irrefutable evidence to the authorities. But danger grew with each passing moment. The rival family had no intention of backing down and would use every resource to silence them. On a tense night, Clara received a direct threat, increasing urgency. The family made a silent pact. The truth would prevail, no matter the cost. The big day arrived. In a packed auditorium full of press, officials, and members of both families, Lucas ascended the stage to present everything he had. With firm voice and determined gaze, he spoke of losses, betrayals, but also hope, justice, and the power of unity. Helena and Clara watched, moved, knowing that this was the final battle. The evidence devastated the rival family, whose schemes crumbled. Justice was set in motion, and those responsible began to be investigated and punished. In the end, not only did truth win, but the rebirth of a family scarred by pain, now free to begin anew. Lucas looked at his mother and sister, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. "It wasn't easy," he whispered, "but together we did it." And so, with the sunrise on the horizon, the family finally found the peace they'd long sought, showing that even in the darkest moments, hope can flourish.